So a few weeks ago, I posted on Instagram stories how to make artichokes in my Instant Pot, and I got a lot of responses from people who appreciated the demonstration, and I asked in my stories what else people would like to see. And one of the responses I got was a little bit more meal prep. So I thought that I'm just standing here in my kitchen. I was about to prep some vegetables for dinner tonight, and I decided that it would be a perfect time to show you guys how I prep cauliflower and how I also prep carrots for roasting. Now, carrots are pretty basic, so that may not seem like so exciting, but there are some people who are really new in the kitchen, and while you're spending more time at home right now, I thought it would be a good time to show those people who aren't as comfortable with chopping some basic skills. So first I'm going to show you the cauliflower because that's a little bit more challenging. It's a little different. Some people just don't know what to do with it. It seems scary to just take this big head of cauliflower and chop it up. So I'm just going to get right to it and show you what I'm going to do. So here I already have my washed cauliflower, and as you can see, this is not the prettiest cauliflower, so I'm going to have to cut away these brown spots. But I bought this about a week ago, and you know, it's okay to use. You just want to cut away the brown spots. But the first thing I'm going to do is turn it upside down, and I'm going to take the thick leaves off. And I have a plastic bag here from the cauliflower that I'm putting my garbage into, so you don't think that I'm just throwing it on the counter. So I try to get off as much of this as possible so that I can then get to the center here. And then what I like to do, I turn it back over so that it's on a flat surface, and I like to cut it in half. Once I have it in half, put one side aside, and I'm going to remove this now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on, again, on the flat side. You always want to have your vegetables or whatever you're cutting on the flat side. And I'm just going to shave off this top part that was not looking so great, just so that we can get rid of that part. See if there's anywhere else that's like that. Just a few places. This was a pretty big head of cauliflower, so it's a little frustrating to have to get rid of part of it, but it's not terrible. And I'm going to put that part in my garbage disposal. And now I'm going to turn this back over, and you want to cut out this core here. So I'm just going to take my knife, and as you're doing that, some of the florets will automatically come off. Now, once I have these big chunks, sometimes you can just easily break them apart on their own. And if you want to roast them big like this, you can leave it like that. I happen to like to cut mine a little bit smaller so that they get more well done, a little bit crispier in the oven. But what I start to do is, rather than cutting them from the very beginning, I'll break off as much as I can. And one like this, I'm going to need to cut it a little bit more. So I'm going to cut off the thicker stem so that I can get to the thinner stems down here and then break those apart. And see, now these are the perfect size that I want. And I already have here a prepared baking sheet. So I'm just going to put them straight on here so that I can then toss them with my olive oil or whatever seasoning I'm using today. I can toss it right on there so that I don't have to dirty another bowl, which saves me time from cleaning up, and it also saves me from doing this. So that's how you do the cauliflower. Let me know if you have any questions below, and I'll be back in a few minutes to show you the carrots. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how to prepare sweet potatoes and carrots, and I'm going to be cooking them together. So I'm going to show you how I dice them up, or cube them rather, to be similar in size so that they cook at the same time, and that they're done at the same time, so that they cook evenly. First things first, I washed all the vegetables that I'm going to be preparing. You always want to wash your vegetables on the outside, even if you're going to be taking off the outer layer. because there could be bacteria on the outside and you don't want it to get on the inside when you peel. So always wash your produce on the outside. So I just hold it firmly, but keep the peeler away from my fingers. And I'm going to do one side. I know some people find peeling potatoes a little tricky because they can be slippery, or because, you know, they don't want to cut their fingers, they feel like it's hard to hold it. So this is how I do it, just to be extra careful. And then I turn it so that I have the side that doesn't have the peel. And when I'm all done peeling it, I'm actually going to rinse it again, just so that any of like the grit that was on the peel gets rinsed off. And if there are any little, what these are called eyes, I just go through those as well, just to peel off the eyes. So again, holding it from one end, making sure to get any blemishes off. Try not to go over too many times the same layer because I don't want to waste the carrot, but I also don't want to have any black or brown spots if there's anything that's on there. So again, you want to get it to a place where it's flat. Now this potato happens to have a flatter side here, so I'm going to start with the side down. I'm going to just trim off the little edges, and then I'm going to cut it in half so that I can have a very stable side. And then I'm going to cut them into about 1 to 2 inch planks. I'll call them planks. So again, I can have another flat side to put them on. And then I'll cut them like this. Now, this, as you can see, is thicker than this one. So what I'm going to do is, I want to have everything, I'm going to show you how I cut this. This one I'm going to cut in half. This is about the size that I want them for roasting. So I now want all of my sweet potatoes and carrots to be about that size. Maybe a little smaller, you know, if they don't have to be perfectly even. It's not worth spending your time trying to get them perfectly even. But so what I'll do is, because this side is thicker, I will cut that in half again. And now I have more evenly sized potatoes. And I will keep going to get them about even. Now another thing to keep in mind is, if you notice, I have my bear claw so that I don't have my fingers out there. You don't want your fingers like this when you're chopping. That's very dangerous. That's a no-no. And because I have been doing this a long time, I feel comfortable stacking the potatoes so that I can go a little more quickly. But if you're new to prepping vegetables, I would not suggest that. I would say just keep going one plank at a time. Now, for the carrot, obviously it's a little different because it has a thinner end and a thicker end. So first things first, I'm going to trim the two ends. And then what I'd like to do is cut it in half. So now I have my thicker end. And with a carrot, it's a little bit harder to find that flat side, because here's a flat side and it's gonna wobble off, and here's a flat side, but if I try to do that, it's very wobbly. So what I like to do is I just hold it on both ends and very carefully cut it down the middle as evenly as possible. And now I have two flat sides that I can cut. And from here, because these pieces of my sweet potato were about this big, it's about the width of the carrot. So for this time that I'm roasting them, I'm going to slice them like this. If this was a really thick carrot, so here you can see that they're about equal, okay, in size. If it was a very thick carrot, I would slice it lengthwise again here before I cut it widthwise. But I don't need to do that this time. Now, for the narrower end here, this is so thin, this is so narrow that I'm not going to even slice this in half. I'm just going to cut these in circles. And if you really, really want everything to be exactly uniform in shape, you could cut it lengthwise again, and then cut it widthwise, but in thicker pieces. So basically, instead of having these two, you would have this here as one. And that's how you cut sweet potatoes and carrots. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And also, please be sure to let me know if there are specific vegetables or other items that you'd like to see prepped, and I'd be happy to show you. And thanks for tuning in. Bye.